Dear friends, thank you for joining B'nai B'rith International and our Office for EU Affairs as we mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the 76th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. The Holocaust, the extermination of 6 million Jews, and the murder of countless others, Roma, LGBTI, disabled, and political prisoners, was the worst crime ever perpetrated by human beings against their own. What began subtly ended catastrophically. This perfidious escalation directly impacted our organization. Already in 1933, the Nazi press reported that the government had placed B'nai B'rith under special political observation because of, quote, our effort to spread pacifism among the German people with their brotherhood of man ideas, close quote. Throughout the 30s, B'nai B'rith members across Europe were especially persecuted. We worked vigorously to try to get Jews out of Germany. Information that reached the organization from our German and European members was brought to the attention of the US State Department, the White House, and to the American public at large. Yet we could not extract any commitment to stop the Nazis' persecution. B'nai B'rith lodges were shut down in Germany in 1937. Indeed, between Kristallnacht, the 1938 November pogroms, and the May 1939 voyage of the damned on the ocean liner St. Louis, the indifference of fellow neighbors and the indifference of fellow nations became all too apparent. Well, 5 years later, the tide had turned. Cognizant of the unthinkable inhumanity that had been perpetrated, the Allied forces marched to liberate Europe. They liberated Majdanek and Dachau and Mauthausen and Buchenwald. They liberated Bergen-Belsen, Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka. And on the 27th of January, 1945, they liberated Auschwitz. The inaction and indifference of the international community before the war and the formation of the UN after the war are the two sides of the same coin, a coin that shows us the importance of common purpose and common cause. The UN's founding was a response to the tragedy that produced the ashes of the Holocaust. The guiding principle of never again was not merely a sentiment, but a pillar onto which the international organization emerged. The Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe after the Holocaust contributed greatly to what is today the European Union. In 1945, B'nai B'rith International witnessed and was present in San Francisco for the establishment of the UN, with the explicit aim of preventing such atrocities from ever happening again. The Council of Europe, too, came about after the Holocaust to ensure human rights and democracy could be upheld in post-war Europe. The world then understood the dangers of inaction, the dangers of indifference. We seem, unfortunately, to have lost that ability today. The year that has just concluded was a terribly difficult one. It was particularly so for the most vulnerable among us, especially for the elderly. Holocaust survivors, dwindling in numbers, have experienced what many have said to be the greatest struggles that they've endured since the war. And too many of them have perished due to the coronavirus. In this environment, extremism and hate have risen, and Jews, and indeed the Jewish state, have been the target of scapegoating and conspiracies. Well, in these times that test us, the importance of international cooperation has become ever more apparent. And so too has innovation, as we've been forced to find new ways to communicate, to stay connected, and indeed to engage in remembrance. That is why, with the historical and the current day in mind, on this International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we chose to focus on international cooperation and innovation as two essential pillars of remembrance. And we're honored that key international institutions have, in this spirit, joined us to recommit their efforts to discharge an abiding duty to preserve the memory of the Holocaust, to tackle anti-Semitism and hatred, and work to foster Jewish life, as you will see in the ensuing video messages. I want to take this opportunity to thank the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the Director General of UNESCO, Audrey Azoulay, the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Maria Pecinovich-Buric, the chair of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, Her Excellency Ambassador Michaela Kuchler, and the director of the OSCE ODIHR Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, Dr. Matteo Micacci, for their messages of engagement and commitment. Thank you.